So let's start with tell folks a little bit about Stroud and the work that you folks do.
So Stroud, we refer to as an operations improvement business, where the business was prior to us working together. Most of our work had grown through in-network referrals. We didn't really have a good grasp of what skills, what processes, what systems are required to actually generate a consistent flow of business. The way I describe it as a yo-yo. Yeah, we were either chronically short of people or we were chronically short of clients. And it always seemed to be one extreme or the other. What we lacked was confidence that if we're at the bottom of that yo-yo, where we had too many people, not enough business, that we knew what we needed to do, that things would come up. So we're in that situation. We didn't know how long we were going to be there for. When we're at the top of the yo-yo, we don't have enough people. We've got a backlog of work to do. We weren't confident enough to hire. So we were constantly oscillating around that position.
What was it about what you saw in our offer that made you pull the trigger and work with us versus going another way? And I'm also curious, if you don't mind sharing, what were the alternatives in terms of how you saw them?
What are some of the things that we lacked was any sense of real strategy that focused, here's who we're looking for and why, as well as some messaging around, here's what we do, that allows people to put us in a box. So, in particular, I remember the first conversation that you and I had, the things that resonated with me was actually putting the effort up front into defining what is that strategic intent of the business, where are we going to focus, and being very deliberate about that. The second piece was how your process would work with our people to help them establish their own credibility and expertise in an area that would allow them to grow. How do we help them grow that network faster than just going through the same process I went through of working with different people over the course of 20 years?
So Mark, I'm curious now to hear a little bit about the experience. If you could articulate for me, what were the big shifts that both yourself and the team at large experienced going through the 90-day pipeline process?
Sure. I think we can think of three main ones that stand out. So one was initially just thinking about a target market, a target prospect with a target problem. There were two elements to that were important. One was thinking about the prospect and what's their problem. What's their problem that we help with? The other element was just like focusing on a very small subset, like 1, 2, 3 focused prospects with a focused problem. They're interested in their problem, not how widely applicable our solution is. So the first step was that. So really focusing on that. The second, I think, for me was thinking about the mechanism. What is it? How do we approach that problem? And how do we describe that in a way that, again, isn't the sequence of steps that we follow chronologically? Because whenever we do that, it sounds exactly the same as what everybody else does. There's always we're going to assess the opportunity, we're going to make a plan, we're going to execute the plan, and we're going to see results. Like it's like everybody says that, and it's all the same. And it's like, okay, those are great. It's sensible things. Nobody's not going to do that, but how does that differentiate that? And really think about how do we describe the important steps in a way that emphasize what do we do that's unique, that's different, that we know always leads to results, and getting that message clear. And then once we had that messaging clear, it really unleashed a lot of our people to start thinking about, what is the messaging we need to have on the website? What are the sorts of things that I need to post on LinkedIn? And then I think the third piece was really helping our people understand how they could do some initial prospecting or reaching out to the market that's in between, just Hail Mary, cold calling type approaching, and the small group of people that are in their network that they know will respond, but how do we bridge that gap and start to expand that in a way that is effective, it's scalable, it's something that they are confident can work, and it's a matter of there's effort you need to put in, but we know if we do these things over time, this is the result that we're going to get.
I'm curious to hear from you what effect this has had on the team's clarity, energy, vision, purpose. Like, what are you seeing in that regard?
Number of factors. So one is it really helps with the energy when people start to see a map to they can control their own destiny, and there's no this magical thing that they don't know what's going to happen. It's the focus has enabled us to start identifying people who do want to focus with a particular industry, and they're interested in generating content around that particular target market. They're interested in reaching out and doing that. And so, just as an example, one of our engagement leads who's really only been thinking about doing business development for, let's say, the last 6 months, and prior to that, to be honest, had mapped out a career for herself that would gradually step away from the business and take on a more internal administration role, internal training, HR administration. And that was deliberate on her behalf because that was the only option she saw for herself that would accommodate starting a family and having a different lifestyle at some point in the future. And had really not embraced or encompassed business development as something that she would even consider. And this week, just as an example, she's set up 2 discovery calls, and has taken one of them, and the clarity with which she could talk about that, it was already led to a second call coming up that I'll join as a partner, and then the other call's been set up with me to join. That's the sort of thing that has never happened before. We've never had our junior people set up a call that wasn't just a really obscure reach that was like leveraging, maybe someone's uncle or something like that. But like these are both calls, like they're in the target market she's focused on. They're the right sort of person. We've already established they've got some level of interest and need. And it's perfect from that perspective.
Which is incredibly exciting, I would imagine, for somebody like you, right? Like we're early days here in terms of the work, but from your perspective, where the bulk of the business to date has come from your network and the network of the other senior partners, to see a world where, and see proof of it now taking shape, where the junior people in the firm can generate their own deals and then bring you in to sign on the dotted line and to bring it over the line. That's where scale comes from.
Absolutely.
If someone's watching this video and they're in a similar position as you were when we first started working together, would you recommend they go through a process like this? And if so, why?
Absolutely. So I think there's a few things. So one is, if you're in a position where you don't know what your pipeline is going to look like, or you look at your pipeline and you don't have the confidence that you want in that pipeline, even if whether it's full, whether it's empty. But if you'd like to have more confidence in that, I think that's the sort of situation where I would encourage anyone to take this. There's a good mix of content that people can work through at their own pace that is sufficiently challenging, that is really going to set people back to the fundamentals of the business and why are they doing what they're doing, which is helpful for reasons beyond just maintaining a business development pipeline. And I think that the last thing that I think is most important is whenever you're contemplating this, there are tens of thousands of things that we could be doing, and we knew we could be doing. But I think the program that you have is very effective at stepping people through what's important at what time to build on itself so that you get some feedback and things are working before you're making a massive investment in either software or generating a lot of content or doing things so that you've got that right balance of energy and reward through the process.
Brilliant. Mark, I think your story is going to resonate with a lot of folks who are in a similar position as you were when we first got started. I appreciate you coming on, sharing the story, motivating others to follow in your footsteps, and I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you very much.